Okay, today, as I mentioned last week, I'm going to cover one of the simple Unity game tutorial. So first, let me just go ahead to show you the game preview scene. So here, it's kind of connect three type of games. And let me just turn on. It has the audio part. Uh, so as long as it's uh, more than three connection, it will play, and it will stop playing whenever there's no more connection found. When I can- do I have any- So, okay. I try to get the end scene part. So it's still. Yeah, I couldn't reach the end scene component, but so it's supposed to be if we have nothing to move, it should give the game end scene. But so that's the Unity game we are going to work on. So if you go to your Brightspace, go to the week 9. The first one is how you install the Android SDK and NDK. And this simple 2D tutorial also have a little bit of that component, but if you did not install that, you will have you need to install that. But if you already installed the uh, Android SDK and NDK, so all these components, you can skip this part. In addition to the tutorial file, you need to download uh, 3 zip files. We are not going to use all of them. We are going to just use 3 audio files and the 6 image files. So that will be under your media file for the Unity game. So go ahead to download the Word document and the 3 zip files. Then we can go ahead to work on the this Unity 2D game from scratch. Most of the code are provided in the Word document. However, the Word document, especially the code part, is not the well organized. Basically, the syntax part. So I may update the code part later, but the code are working. The only thing is the syntax indentation are not matched, not easy to read. Okay, so now, so I also follow the handouts. So after you download all the Word document, there's instruction and the 3 media files. Let's go ahead to, this is what I completed. I will just close this. And go to open up Unity Hub. Because these days the Unity project is, you can create using the Unity Hub. So once you open up Unity Hub, you may have, I have a multiple version, but if you only install the one version, it's easier for you to create. So I will choose a new. Since I have multiple version of Unity, I will just choose the version that with the Android support, so which is 2019 2.1, 2.18 F1. Okay, now since this is 2D projects, I will click on 2D. I will create it under my document folder. So just to follow the handout, I'm going to name this project as Jam Buster. So Jam Buster will be the project name, and click on create. So it takes a couple of seconds to set up the project file. While you work on the project, I try to see. So you will see I mean, unlike the the Android Studio, you can play the game in the preview mode, but if you want to run for the mobile device, you need to turn on the USB debugging mode and connect to your computer using the USB and allow USB debugging. You have to click on allow USB debugging mode. Now the project is set up. Where is my camera view? Okay, let me just stop sharing. Share back. Okay. Now once we open up the Game Buster project, we will have a default main camera. We can just keep that as is. At this moment, the next couple step is about the Android support. You should already have that if you follow the instruction in the first Word document under week 9, which require you to install the Unity 2019 2.18 F1 with these Android build support. So there are two files that you need to install about 1.2 gigabyte. So if you already did that, then when you go to the file menu in the Unity, go to the build setting. So you should see the Android mode. So by default, it's a PC, Mac, Linux standalone desktop application. Now you need to select the Android and the run device. Since I already connected, it will show my Samsung phone. So this will allow to install the APK file directly to my mobile phone. Other options, I will use the default. I use a 32-bit. Now, once you did that, you need to click on Switch Platform under the Android. So this will compile the script so that it can run on the Android platform. So right now, we did not create any of our custom code or the asset. So what the engine does is they actually convert the Unity engine related script and the code to kind of compatible with the Android platform. So once this one complete, okay, so once this one complete, now our default scene we are going to compile will be the sample scene. I'm going to modify that. But this is the build setting. Now switch to the Android platform. Okay, so we can try. If we click on build, this will create the APK file at the specific folder. So this will create APK file under your Gembusters project folder. But I'm not going to build it at this moment because we don't have anything. So after we complete setting up the project, I will go ahead to build the APK file. So now we can close this scene, close the build setting. And we need to work on the under the asset folder of the empty project. We are going to right mouse click to create a couple of folders. Sprite. So sprite will be the gem icons. So here in about at the page 10 of your handout, These are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 folders you are going to create. The scene folder is already there, so I'm not going to recreate the scene folder. I'm going to create all the other folders. Start from sprites, sounds, scripts. Scenes are already there. The last is a prefab. Okay, so these are the 5 different folders we are going to create. The next, we need to import the images. As in your handout, we are going to import only 6 icons or diamond shape. So to do that, open up your sprite folder. So under your Unity, you go to your sprite folder, and from your browser, File Explorer. So this is what I downloaded, and you can unzip the puzzle pack. So this contains under the PNG folder. These are all the image files. You could see from the icon view mode, but I'm going to select the files based on the name. So the one that we are going to select is elements blue diamond glossy, element green diamond glossy. So only 6 files. Control select element gray diamond glossy, element purple diamond glossy, element red diamond glossy, and element yellow diamond glossy. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 files. And with only 6 files selected, and drag them under the sprite folder. So these are the 6 sprite files we will use for this simple 2D game. In addition, we are going to import the sound. Okay, go to your sound folder and go to the we will use a both folder. So first, these files will be you have to zoom into the handout a little bit. So there are 3 files. From the impact folder, you are going to select impact generic light 1, and the impact emitter medium 2, and the confirmation 2. So these are the files that we are going to put in. So first, go to the Kenny interface sound and choose the confirmation 02, the OGG file, and drag that to the sound folder. So that's the first one. Then go to the impact sound folder and go to audio. I'm going to choose the impact generic light 01. You can do this one by one because this is only 1 file. And the impact matter medium 02. Impact meter medium 02, the OGG files. These are the 3 audio files, sound files we need for the sound effect. So that's the first part. Now after we go over this step, okay, then we are going to create a grid and display the gems on the screen. So in this example, we are going to implement 8 by 8 grid, and by default, this is the camera, the view, which is in the kind of more like a landscape mode. So if we want to use in the portrait mode, I can just adjust that. First thing, we need to create a default game object, which is gray, using the gray. So under the sprite, so we have this element gray sprite, and we are going to use this gray as a base and choose the create a prefab using this game gray element gray diamond shape. But before we go start, let's go ahead to file, save this current scene as under the scene folder. So the simple scene that Unity is a default default scene. I'm going to replace that with the game scene file. So game scene that Unity S is capital game scene will be our new map. So save the file as a game scene, because the game scene will be the name of that game scene will be used to reload the scene. If you click on the play again button, if the game stopped, game ended. Now with the change of the game scene file, we need to adjust build setting, because by default right now it's using the sample scene. So since we already have the game scene is currently open scene, I will click on add open scene. Now one more scene was in the build mode. The sample scene, although it's the same, but we are not going to work on that. So right mouse click, I will remove that sample scene from the build. So we are going to only build this game scene from this moment. So that's how you adjust the build setting. So now we are going to first create a prefab for this. So okay, now the next, I'm going to drag this element gray diamond glossy sprite into my game scene. Then I'm going to increase the XY scale to 1.25 for only for X and the Y. So now you see the this sprite has been increased its size. Okay, now I think most of you may already know how to create a prefab. So prefab is, although you can put in the sprite, but once you move this, the object, these are just a static camera, and these are also in the gray color. But if you drag this back to the prefab folder, now the element gray diamond is going to become a prefab. So now this has become a game object. So we can use this prefab to instantiate, generate a new object. So now this element gray diamond glossy now become a prefab. The only change we made is we increased the size, and all other things we just left as a default. So once we create a prefab, we don't need this the sprite in the game scene anymore. I will just click on that object in the scene and the delete. As you can see, the prefab still remains. If we want, we can drag this back into the scene. Okay, so we can file save until this moment. So what we did is we just imported the audio files and the 6 sprite images, and using the gray diamond created one prefab with a little bit increased size. The next step is most of this game is created using the Unity C# script. When we work on this C# script, you'll find out C# script is pretty close to the Java. Most of the inside the C# class, most of the syntax are very similar with the Java, except the package that we are going to use, instead of using import in the Unity C#, it will use keyword using. Okay, so now move to your script folder, and we are going to create a new script called the grid manager. So right mouse click under the script folder, create C# script. And before you do anything, just go ahead to change this file name to grid manager. So the class name is important because we are going to use that. Now, if you double click, you can edit this script, and by default, I'm using the Visual Studio as editor. Some of you may not have Visual Studio. One option is using the Notepad++. Okay, I will use a Notepad++ for this example. Okay, so Jambuster. So if you go to your project folder, go to Asset, Script, you have a grid manager, the C# file, and you right mouse click, edit with the Notepad++. If you double click, it will open up the Visual Studio. Either one will be fine. Actually, Visual Studio fine, but if you did not install the Visual Studio, then you cannot edit. Unity used to have a mono script, mono editor, but it's not now default. So this Notepad++ is kind of lightweighted. We can use this to edit the script. So most of the script code is already provided. So once we have a grid manager script created, then you can go to your page 15 of your handout. Okay. So as you can see, like the Android, the code, it's using the keyword using to include Unity engine package and the system collection package. So I'm just going to copy this to code, and you could just replace your current code. So anything that, okay, so system collection, and this one is already there, so I will just remove, keep the same import package, edit, convert, indent. So the one thing is this code are not easy to read, but however, I will just on the fly use some indentation and adjust the readability of this code. Okay, so you should have the three library files using system correction generic, and the Unity engine, and grid manager should be the same. This name should be the same as your file name. So I'm going to close all other files. Okay, so this is my current file, and then you may already use the Unity in the previous. So what you see is the two main files will be created. Even you create very empty script, which is any mono behavior class will have a start function. So whenever object was created, this grid manager object created, it will go to run the start function, and every frame it will go to call the update function. Now for this one, we will have additional function, one more additional function, which is generate grid. Okay, so I will just adjust the indentation so that it's a little bit easier to read. So select all the code inside, create indentation. Okay, now if we look at this game manager, we are going to create a static instance. So we only create one instance of this grid manager using some empty game object. And through this game manager, we are going to set up the number of grid in the rows and the columns. Then with each of these array elements, we are going to randomly generate the gem object. And the gem sprite will be generated from the list of different sprites. We have to connect those objects. Now, whenever this game starts, whenever this grid manager was created, there are instance object. So this instance will be a grid manager object, and we are going to set the dimension using the sprite's renders size, and generate the grid using the gem dimensions XY component. Now, whenever we generate grid, so this is generate grid using the gem images width and the height. So gem will be a new game object with a two-dimensional arrays. Gems are two-dimensional array with a number of columns, which is 8 by 8 in this case. Now we are going to loop over this column and the row. So I will create an indentation here. So first is loop over horizontally, and then loop over vertically. No, the columns. So X and Y is a row. So it's going to create row by row. So first row and second row and so on and so forth. So we are going to set the position based on the gem size, image sprite size times number of column and the rows. So that will set up the beginning position of each gem sprite. Now the new gem object will be instantiated using the gem object and their position, and using their default translation. So instantiate is actually a 3-element function. In this editor, I cannot show you how to use this function. However, if I use a Visual Studio, if I type in instantiate, it will show me the options that to use for this new gem object. Now generate randomly a new gem object and assign that new gem object to the gem game object array. Okay, then set their transform and get their sprite render component. So that will draw out the gems, and once I assign these lists to this code. So I think this code is easier to kind of read. So what I will do is I will copy this code. While I'm doing this tutorial, I'm also going to update my code. Still it's not. At least it's better indentation than the previous code, so I will use this one and replace my previous. Okay, so this is a grid manager code. Uh, one major thing difference is just has a little bit better indentation. So once I finish tutorial, I'm going to update the tutorial handout with this code, this new document, but just updated the code. Okay, now once we finish up editing, main thing I did is just using same code, but adjust the indentation so a little bit easier to read. The notepad editor is just a text editor, so we have to save whatever change we made. So that's if you save that file under your Unity project. So if you now go to click on the grid manager code, you will see that uh, the code has been updated in the preview mode. Okay, now we want to attach this code to the game manager object. A game manager object will be just a simple empty object. So inside, if you go to your page 17 of your handout, under the game scene hierarchy view, right mouse click, create empty object, empty game object. Then go to the game object, change that name to grid manager. The name is not too important, but we want to differentiate this. So with this game, grid manager is a kind of empty game object. You can move around this object to the new location. Now the key is we want to attach the script code we created. So there are different ways of doing that. One way is you can go to with the grid manager selected, go to add component and choose a script, and then you can attach the grid manager. So that's one approach. Or you can directly drag with the grid manager selected. You can drag your script from the asset folder and the release. Make sure that you attach this script code to the grid manager object, not other object. Okay, with that, we can go ahead to set the dimensions. So grid will be 8 by 8. Then I'm going to go to the gem sprite and set the size as a 6, since we only have a 6 sprite. Now for this 6 sprite, I'm going to assign, go to the sprites folder, and based on order, I'm going to put the yellow, red, purple, gray, green, and the blue. So this is a sprite list. So we have a 6 different type of sprite, and the gem is a game object. So this one will be used to instantiate. So something that you want to instantiate must be a prefab. So what we are going to do is we need to attach the one element gray. So this is the prefab object. So I'm going to drag the element gray prefab to the gem slot. So that's how we use the grid manager to generate a grid of 8 by 8 random gem scene. So now I will just go to in the preview mode, go to play. I will just adjust a little bit to see. So I can adjust the scene. Now what you will see is we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 by 8 grid with a random sprite will be generated as the initial scene. Okay, so that's the first step. Now the next is we need to add a touch control for the to swap the gems. So for that purpose, we need to go to the script folder again. Right mouse click. We need to create another script, C# script. I'm going to name this as a gem, GEM. Okay, so again, if you look at once it's compiled, so this is the default gem script. And again, I'm going to go to my project folder. So under your document gembuster asset script folder, we have this gem.cs created, and I will right mouse edit from the notepad. Now we are going to, so I will just keep the same, the package files, but I'm going to copy paste the remaining source code to replace the gem class. Okay, so the class is I kind of duplicating. So here I have to adjust again. So under the gem mono behavior class, we have I will just do all these are data members, and I think I should indent everything, every code except the last uh, curly bracket, so that we can differentiate the functions. Now, like the other mono behavior, we have a start function. So in the start function, the sprite renderer will get component from that sprite, and by default, no gem is selected. So we set is selected a Boolean variable as a false. So this one will show which one is selected. And also, we need to keep record of, we are going to swap the gem. So whenever you do the first selection and the second selection, then we swap those gems. So we need to keep memory record of the previous selection and private sprite renderer. Now, whenever we click on individual gem is selected, then we set the is selected to true using the select color and set previously selected will be game object that get component of the gem. So that is the previous selection. I will just remove the space. I will keep the data variables as a separate line, but most of code in the same line. And again, this is also just a habit. I will make the open close parenthesis curly bracket in the same line and create indentation. Now, you could, after you select the gem, you can also select on the same one. Then that means it's deselect. So if you click on mouse twice at the same spot, that means you deselect that specific gem. So we set the is select as a false. Now, whenever mouse is down, so this is the key part. So these will be all in the same function. So whenever what we selected is not object, so it means we did not select the correct, click on the varied sprite, then we do nothing. So when mouse is click on the area which is not the sprite, then we do nothing. Now, if we select the same sprite twice, this is it was previously selected, but we selected one more time, then we set is unselect. So this is if else statement. I'm going to adjust that. Otherwise, if it's not, then we see if the one is previous selected. If okay, now we find out if this is the first selection or second selection. So if the previous selected gem node is null, means nothing was set for the previous selection. Therefore, this gem, what we click on, will be the first selection. Now, otherwise, if the this is another if else statement. Otherwise, that means if there is a previous selection, then we have to else. Okay, this is another if else statement. Now, when you do the two selections, so this one is if the previous selection means we did not select any one before, then the current selection will be the first selection. Otherwise, we are going to compare. The key is we only swap the gems that are next to each other, either up, down, left, right. If they are adjacent, then we do the swap. Otherwise, we nullify or invalidate this whole selection, so that we do the first selection as unselect, then select the current one as the first selection. So that's the main logic, and I do kind of align up these statements. So on mouse down, if it's not very disparate, we do nothing. If we click on the same spot twice, then we unselect. Now, whenever there's no previous selection, make the current cut down as the first selection. Otherwise, we compare if they are next to each other. If they are next to each other, swap. If they are not next to each other, then disable the first selection and choose this one as the first selection. So that's what we do for the mouse down code. And I just adjusted the indentation, and I will just copy paste this code. Now, as you can see, we need to measure if the two gems are adjacent to each other. So we need to create a 2D vector using up, down, left, right. Okay, so adjacent gem. So this is the whole code. So this is a 2D vector, new 2D vector with a 1, 2, 3, 4 vector element. So the correct code is more like this. So this is a vector array, and we have a 4 element, which is up, down, left, right. Then we are going to go to the game object of adjacent gems. And the next is one of the key for the both the Unity for 2D and 3D game is whenever you use a mouse to select any object, either 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional, you are always going to use this class rayHit. Right now it's using rayHit 2D because we are working on 2-dimension. So we are going to create the rayHit 2D objects from the current position to the adjacent directions, and we are going to add whatever object that hit to add to the adjacent gem list. Now we are going to, if the adjacent gem contains the previous game object, then return true. So we look for up, down, left, right uh, position the shoot of the ray, and whatever collide with that ray, we are going to add that to the adjacent gem list. Now, if the adjacent gem list contains the previous mouse click selection, that means we did click on the adjacent the block or adjacent gem. Otherwise, if this adjacent list does not contain the previous gem object, selected gem object, that means it's not adjacent. So we have to return false. So that's the how we determine if we selected the adjacent. Now the last thing is the swap. So we are going to just swap the sprite between the previous selection and the current selection. So that's the swapping the sprite code. So after this, this one is actually the full code, and it has a little bit better indentation. So I will save this and copy the full code, and I will replace that inside my handout. So once I'm not sure if I can finish up the full tutorial, but as long as for as much as I can, I'm going to use this better indented code for your handout. So actually the code itself is the same. The contents wise is the same, but just the indentation is different. So I can replace the previous code. I just delete that part. So leave the new code for here. Okay, so with the correct indentation, it's easier to kind of understand the code logic. So now I added a gem, the script, and I already saved it. So in the notepad, if you save your code, if you do not save a code, it will show in the red color. But once you save, it will show in the gray color. So we have a gem and the grid manager code created. We have to apply that to the code. So to update that, we are going to go back to the prefab and double click on this prefab. So now if you double click, it will open up the prefab editor in your main window. So right now, prefab of the gem has transformed, which already applied the 1.5 skills, and the sprite render. This is a star field from the sprite object. So what we need to do is we need to just add the gem script, which is add component. Go to script and choose the newly created gem code. Now, and we can go ahead to save the project file. Oh, one more thing that we need to add is, so we need to apply the box 2D collider. So go to add component. Still, this is still under the prefab editor of the gray diamond cross element. Go to add physics 2D and choose a box collider 2D. Okay, so now I will just use the default of that. Okay, so this box collider is not kind of perfectly for gentle. I don't know why. I think that Okay. Although it's a little bit off, but I hope it's. I mean, you could edit. Well, these are edges. It's not aligned. Okay. Yeah. Just use this one, and we go back to the main scene. Now, one last thing we are before we try to swap the tire. I mean the gem is we want to modify the physics to the settings. Go to the edit and choose a project setting, and choose the physics 2D mode, 2D settings, and uncheck core starting the collider option. So uncheck the core starting the collider. Okay, so now let's go ahead to file save scene as well as save project, and let's go ahead to preview how this game works. I mean, I will adjust the camera resolution and the screen size later, but I will just move this one down a little bit so that I can see the my game scene in the middle. So now with the mouse down event added to the gem sprite, now we can go ahead to swap. Although nothing happened, but we can continue swap the selections. So now some of them, 3 of them are already there. Okay, so these are the code now. It's actually allow you to swap the cars. Now let's try the other one. So if I choose one and choose a far away, so this one does not allow the swap. So this is allowed, and choose here. No, so and as long as it's not adjacent, like even the diagonal, it's not allowed to swap. So if I click on same block again, then it will deselect. So selection will make it dark. So that's the mouse event to the swap tires. So let me fire save project until this moment. Now we can continue on the next step. Now that okay, if we start to play, now we have a couple of situations. One is, so at the beginning they already have 4 connections. There was 4 connections, 3 connections, 3 connections, 3 connections. So there are already a couple of gems already matched. So the whenever game start, the game map should not have anything matched. So next code is inside our grid manager. We need to loop over to find out when we randomly generate this map to see if something already have a 3 connection, both in the horizontal and the vertical lines. Then we remove them and regenerate. The next is whenever we swap, after we swap, we are going to check if anything has 3 connections, then remove that and regenerate the new gems to the empty spot. So that's the next part. Try to find out the matching diamonds. Okay, for that part, we need to go back to our the grid manager code. So we need to go to the generated grid code. So there's something need to be updated in this part. The update we are going to work on will be That part is the same. Region list. Okay, so I have this piece of code. I'm going to add. Okay, so what we need to do is just after this is a for loop. I would rather go with this approach, but it's then I may need to kind of get a little bit more indentation. Okay, so that shows the loop structure. So the code that we are going to update is I'm going to comment out default randomly generated sprite. So then I'm going to, so up to this point, all the code will be the same. Okay, so the code I'm going to copy is this part. So, but then I'm going to create the indentation to see if it's so I'm going to generate invariant sprite list. Okay, so uh, okay, so the last one, new gem sprite renderer. This it's a randomly generated, excluding the invariant sprite. So we use this part of code to allow that the sprite we generate will be all varied. So now I will find out this one. Okay, there's one more something. So we have to match all the syntax. So this will be the so what this means is actually we generate the code between the parent transform and the oh no. So it should be kind of remove that part because the code will be different. Instead of just generate sprite randomly, we are going to generate randomly but excluding the invariant sprite list. So this is the one piece of code we added for the inside the generate grid. And there's a new function created called the random sprite excluding. So we need to add additional method called so it will be I always kind of add before the update. So this is same function name random sprite exclusion and use a list of the sprite so that when we generate we exclude that sprite in the random generation. So go to the indentation to make sure that I have a correct indentation for up to here. So it's indent for the function and the code, and that's the for loop, and that is another for loop. That's the correct indentation. And too much space here. So as long as we find out the invariant sprite we should avoid. So inside the random sprite excluding, we loop over the 6 different sprites, and if that sprite does not contain the the invariant sprite, then we generate that, add that to that spot. And once we finish generate, then we return that the sprite that we generated to the function caller inside the generate grid code. So that's the update. So the two things will be updated. There is a one function and a piece of code inside generate grid. So what I will do is I'm going to copy all this code, which is almost the same code, but I'm going to use a red color to update which part needs to be modified in the hands-on. It's always using the double spacing. Okay, so what I will do is, so it's a full, almost full code, but what I will do is I will use a red font to indicate this is the part we need to update from the previous, and that will be the full code. So in your handout, these are the inside your generate grid. We want to avoid some invariant sprite, and also for that we will add exclude a sprite list function. So those are two methods, and I updated using the red color. Okay, so now with that update, we can go back to run, and you will find out you will not see the 3 connection or 4 connections at the beginning. So there will be no automatic connect sprite from the beginning. So only when you swap, you will have a 3 connection. So all the other, there will be no 3 connection at the beginning. Okay, so that's the exclude. Okay, now once we for the initial game, we avoided any kind of 3 or 4 connection, more than 3 connection at the beginning scene. Now once I swap the diamond gems, we should allow these gems to be removed and shift their positions based on the removal of this gem, and this will continue check if any other part will have a 3 connection until every gem has been checked. So now that part of code will be added to the gem sprite. So this sprite has been updated. Now let's go to the gem code. So what we are going to update for the gem code is select to unselect. Okay, so what we are going to add is is adjacent, then we swap the gem, but not after we swap the gem, we need to add 3 line of code, which is swap the gem, then for the previous selected gem, we clear matches, and previous selected, we are going to do the unselect, then clear match. So clear match may not clear anything if what you did is wrong, but in most cases when we swap the gem means we do find out the 3 connections. That clear match is going to remove the gems that have a 3 or more than 3 connections. Then else unselect. So this inside the mouse down, we just add a 3 line of code. So mainly when after we do the swap of the adjacent gem blocks. Now, the remaining will be, we are going to add a couple of functions to check, so 3 methods, which is find the horizontal match, find the vertical match, and the clear match. So inside the clear match, we are going to call horizontal and the vertical match. So these are the 3 separate functions. So the code are already in the handout. So I'm going to copy and then adjust the indentation. So the thing we are going to modify is inside the up mouse down. We are going to, whenever we swap the adjacent gems, then we are going to just add these code at the very last. So first thing, I'm going to do the indentation first. After return, that's the one method. And I'm going to move this one inside. So these are all the matching. Okay, horizontal match, we'll just look for the left, right blocks. Control Z. So I'm going to create a array of 2 elements, which is a left, right vector. Then inside the for loop, I'm going to do the raycast of the adjacent left and the right to see if they are all matches. So if they are matched, then what's this? Oh, that's the, then this one will be the while loop. Okay, so loop over the whole horizontal and look for the connected left, right, and using the ray cast direction, using the horizontal direction, which is the left, right, and the matching gems are the ones that matched in the horizontal. Okay, so only the 3 connections will be moved to the horizontal match. But we just do the match, but we do not remove match, because the same horizontal match also will contain the vertical match. So we just return this. We did not remove that at this horizontal match stage. So using the same approach, we did the vertical match and also return all the blocks that matched in the vertical. Then in the clear match, we just remove all the both horizontal and the vertical matching gem objects. So now I will do this, find out. Okay, so this is the second code. I will do the indentation. Go to the list. So idea is the same, but instead the vector will be up and down vectors. Now the code, the logic will be pretty similar. And that while loop needs to go inside. So both the horizontal and vertical match will return a matched gem array, list of the game object array. And in the clear match, so that first we need to do the indentation. So I need to find out where is the clear match. Okay, so there's one more curly bracket, so I will just remove that. Private. Okay, when sprite render is not so there's a nothing to for the gem. If nothing is selected, we just return. Now, as I mentioned, first in the clear match we do the horizontal and the vertical match. So this will return the array of horizontal and vertical match list, and we only remove the horizontal matches more than two. So remove those null points. Okay, so that's the try to remove the horizontal match sprite, and the same in the same way we go with the vertical match, and whenever it's higher than two, we are going to remove those vertical match gem block. And once we remove them, we may need to recreate for that the empty block. So then if horizontal match higher than less, then game manager job game. Okay, so now that's all the code we added for the gem, and I will just copy the whole code, then just highlight the code that need to be updated. So first copy the whole code. Okay, then I will remove the old code. Then highlight the one need to be changed, which is the part from the, I will just highlight the change in the red color. So in when I update this handout, so you can just go to look for the code, because this is not creating a new one. It's kind of updating the previous code, which is gems script code. So these only the red part will be inserted into the gem, the C# script. Okay, so now we work on the gem to clear the matches, and now let's see how with the update of the compiler. Okay, the grid manager does not contain definition of game job gems. Okay, so job gem need to be added. Grid manager. So once we remove that, those empty blocks need to have gems need to be dropped. Okay, so now we need to go back here, go back to project script. I will still work on that C# script for the grid manager. The new method will be the jobbable gems, spawnable gems, and the job gems. So these are the only part we are going to add. Again, what I will do is let's first check if anything that need to be updated for the data member. Nothing. Start with 3 lines of code. Game generation is the same. Random exclusion is the same. And then it's update. So now, so what I'll do is I'll just add a sweep method, get droppable gems, and get spawnable gem and the drop gem, which is until before the update. So again, I will use the update as a kind of placeholder. So add everything. Uh, so for these added code tab, first I will work on the indentation. So work on that the whole block of get droppable gem code. So this is 2D array. That's the inner loop. Okay, so job sprite. This is if statement. Uh, that's the if statement, and this everything is inside. While while less than. So that's the. So for vector, do the get game component sprite equal null. Okay, now let's work on the spawnable gems. Okay, so that's the spawnable gem. Then the last one is the drop, the one. So choose all the code from the drop gem. So while loop, do everything inside. To find out where the for loop. Okay, that's the for loop. Okay, so these are sweep method that has a better indentation. What I will do is, so now we actually implemented a drop gem. So once we have a matching gems, we remove them. We need to fill in those gems, and to remove that, we need to find out the droppable gems and spawn those gems. Uh, So what I will do is, since the only thing changed is the sweep method in this case, I'm going to add those code. Make sure that remove the old code. Okay, so just to highlight, the only code that need to be updated, which is basically the sweep method from the droppable gems all the way to before the update. So this red fonted code is what you need to add it to the grid manager. So I did already do that. The code is a little bit better to read. So now with that, we can go ahead to check. Gem clear matches is inaccessible due to, oh yeah, that was one of the error. So it was set as a private, but that need to be actually the public. Clear match. So I can modify that from my code, but I also need to go to update from my handout. So they will be public. So since I already updated my handout, when you run it, you should not have that issue. So now clear match. So now from this moment, I think it's working. Although it doesn't have a sound, all the logic, as long as it has a sweep match, it should work. More than I mean, it's only do the sweep match. Oh no, it's filling with a new one. Okay, so now it's actually working until this moment. So the basic game functions are there now. Now let's move to the next part of the tutorial. So the dropping is working. Now we need to work on the adding sound. So we have a three sound files. What we are going to work on is first update or modify the gem.cs to add a couple of code, which is so this is just a couple of so this is just for sound. So we need to include audio related public audio clip for the gem script, and we are going to add inside the select function. So whenever the gem is selected, so these are the kind of audio related functions. So I'm going to just use the line comments. So whenever a gem selected, we play the select sound. And for the, sorry, I don't want to type in again. So for the swept gems, if we need to swap the gems, we are going to play the swap sound. So instead of select sound, I'm going to use inside the swap. I'm going to play the swap sound. And finally, when we clear the gem and drop the new gems, so which is under the drop after the drop game, we are going to play the clear sound. So these are the 1, 2, this is different. 3 and the 4 part we are going to update. So I'm going to save this file and I will copy the whole code, but just highlight the updated portion of this gem class. Okay, so the ones will be changed. It will be just this audio clip, and inside the select, play select sound. Inside the swap, the swap sound, and inside just after we drop game or drop gems, we play the clear sound. So these are the couple of code we added. Now we should be able to play the sound, but we need to do the update. Okay, now we go back to the prefab because we updated script. So if you go to the prefab, open up. Now under the gem script, we have a select, swap, and the clear sound clip. So we need to connect select sound to the matter medium to the select, and swap sound we use impact generic, and for the clear sound we use a confirmation 002. Now one more thing, in order to play the sound we need to add the audio source for the gem. So click on the add component, audio, and choose audio source. We don't need to do anything for that, just choose audio source. Now with that, we can go ahead to file, save, and the save project. And now we can go to preview, and the sound should play. Okay, yeah, that's the. So most of the sound effect and everything is running. The last part is the part that I didn't add up is the UI part, which is just show the time and the number of scores, so on and so forth. So that part I still have, it's already 140, so I will just continue up and finish up uh, next class, and the remaining will be pretty straightforward. Once we finish up, I will give you guys a little bit more time to show me your progress on your Android Studio 2D game project progress. So this is what so for the game wise it's almost there, except we don't have the the UI part. I didn't build this to the Android yet. The only thing is the resolution, the camera size may need to be adjusted. I will just try to run it to see how it looks like. So file build setting, and I can click on build. So I did choose my APK Gembuster test. So I'll just say Gembuster test at this moment. So compile may take some time. I'm just waiting to see if the main functionalities are working at this moment. Okay, so now I think it's built. So I have APK file. So what I can do is, since I already connected, so if I copy my APK file to my oh, let me just copy to the download to my document. I'll just put in the download folder. So 16 meg. So now I do need to kind of turn on the trusted source, because so with APK file, I will go to my files navigator, and you will see that your download file. You can click on that, and you can do the install using the APK. So now I can just click on open to see how it works. So oh yeah, it's a little bit off to the left, but it shows the most of the gems. So I can play. Can't find it. First match. Although without the interface, but it still plays, and I can adjust that position slightly. So that's I will just stop until this step. Then continue work on the remaining part. The remaining part is a simple UI, and also it needs to be kind of match with the size of the screen. Okay, so that's it for today, and I will finish up this Unity 2D game next class. We have most of the main part done. We just have a couple of the UI component need to be finished. Okay, that's it for today, and see you on Thursday.